Hello, this is Thomas Benner, and I'm going to show you today how to work with the color picker. I'm on a Macintosh. It works the same on Windows. It's really not that different. And it works the same in all Adobe programs. Right now I'm in Photoshop. It works identical to this in Illustrator with the fill and the stroke colors. It works the same in Adobe Flash and Dreamweaver and After Effects, all the different programs that use color. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm in Photoshop, so I'm going to come down here to my color swatches. I've got a brown foreground color and a black background color. I'm going to double click one of them. I'll double click the foreground color. And that opens up what's called the color picker. And I want to talk about these radio buttons over here. Right now the H radio button is clicked. There's the S, there's the B, the R, G, B, L, A, B. So let's go back to where it was on H. This is hue, saturation, and brightness, these three values at the top. Hue is clicked. That means I'm seeing hue in the thin strip right here to the right. I'm seeing all the colors on the color wheel, all the hues. Saturation goes from left to right. So on the left, all these values are 0 saturation. On the right, all these values are 100% saturation. Brightness goes from 0 at the bottom. All these colors at the bottom are 0 brightness. Any color on a computer at 0 brightness will always appear black. And 100% brightness is all the way across the top. So, for example, up here in the far left corner, I have 100% brightness and 0 saturation. In the upper right corner, I have 100% brightness, 100% saturation. Now let's click to a different mode. Anyway, let's click on saturation. Right now in the thin strip, I'm seeing saturation. This is 0 saturation at the bottom. 100% saturation at the top. You can drag your sliders up and down. 100%, 0 saturation. Over here I'm seeing hue from left to right, all of the colors on the color wheel, and I'm seeing brightness from bottom to top. This is 0% brightness at the bottom. Again, any color on a computer at 0 brightness will appear to be black, and this is 100% brightness at the top. Finally, I'm going to click on the brightness, and now in this thin strip I'm seeing different brightness values. This is really useful for doing web design when I have a basic color palette, but I want to use different brightness values of the same color. So I can change to a darker brightness until I get to 0, and all colors at 0 brightness appear to be black, and there's 100% brightness. Over here in the big rectangle, I'm seeing all the hue colors from left to right, all the colors on the color wheel, and I'm seeing saturation from bottom to top. All the colors at the bottom are 0 saturation, all the colors at the top are 100% saturation. So how do you work with this? Most people, human beings, like to work with hue, so click on hue, and then choose the color you want on the thin strip. Let's say I want, I don't know, let's pick a blue. Then come over here and click on the big rectangle to fine-tune your selection with the saturation and brightness value. So right now I've picked a blue hue with a saturation of 95 and a brightness of 94, very high saturation and brightness. If you wish, you could click on saturation. Maybe I want this blue color, but I want a different saturation value. Maybe I want that. I can change to a different hue by dragging from left to right. And I can change to a different brightness value. You can see brightness changing all the way down to 0, all the way up to 100. So, of course, brightness works the same way. When you choose the brightness radio button, you always make your selection first on this thin strip. So let's choose a brightness value we want. Let's say I want that one. Then choose a hue value, and then choose a saturation. Maybe I want this extremely saturated. So that's how you work with the color picker. It works the same Mac and Windows and in all Adobe software. It's identical. It works. This is coming from the operating system, and Mac and Windows does the same thing. If you want, you can experiment with RGB. There's red on the thin strip, green and blue over here. One of my favorite modes is LAB mode. This is lab. L is the lightness channel, A and B are color channels. So I'm going to click on the L. I'm seeing the lightness channel here, and I can fine tune it by choosing an A and B color value over here. So most people will work with HSB, hue, saturation, and brightness. They'll select the hue radio button. Always make a selection first in the thin strip, then fine tune it by clicking somewhere in the rectangle. When you're done, click OK, and there you can see I've set my foreground color in Photoshop. So that's working with the color picker in all Adobe software, Mac and Windows.